You don't remember? I said, what do you mean? He goes, that's why you're making $1 million a day. For 2.5 kilos or more in Australia, it's a life sentence, right? I got fucking 4 life sentences in this fucking box, right? And they said, well, we got to check your bags. As soon as they opened that bag, guess what? There was no gun, but there was 700,000.
You're fucked.
4 hours goes by and he hasn't called me. I'm like, okay, now my trainer burned me. That's all my mind was thinking. Yeah. My trainer just burned me. Now I'm down 3.2 million of not my money, but the cartel's money, right? I'm like, fuck. He says, you know the famous saying in Mexico, he tells me, plata or plomo. He just threw it out there real quick. And I already knew the saying. It's plata, means you pay me, or plomo, is lead.
Yep.
You get the fucking lead to the head, right? Yep. He says, but what the bad news is, he says, now you work for the cartel.
In the movies, and even in your show, they sort of romanticize the cartels. They don't really show the darker side to it. Is there that dark side? Owen, welcome to the show, brother.
Hey, thanks for having me, Bruce.
It's my pleasure. I'm fucking honored. Do you still like being referred to as the cocaine quarterback?
You can call me whatever you want. Just don't call me late for dinner, Bruce.
Don't late for dinner. You don't take offense to that name?
No. Listen, it's part of the story. It's part of the journey.
Brother, I fucking watched it on Amazon. I was blown away. Like, it was such a great story. And, I don't want to get too far ahead into the story, but the very fact that you were able to rebound the way you did and not give up, and some of the moves you made was brilliant. And I was just like, fuck, I got to talk to this guy.
Yeah.
So, without belaboring it, everybody who hasn't seen Cocaine Quarterback on Amazon, please give it a watch. It's fucking great. You really get to know Owen and what he went through. So why don't we just do like a Cole's Notes version of, when you started playing football, how you started to transition, and just let's go through that. But I have a bunch of questions for you.
Yeah, just never played the game in my life, right? That's what blows people's mind. I've never touched a football until I walked onto the USC football team.
Yep.
Fast forward, we walked on. I made the team out of, probably the best football players in the country at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Played on 2 national championships under Pete Carroll. Had I played with 3 Heisman Trophy winners: Carson Palmer, Matt Leinart, Reggie Bush, and got to go to the White House, meet the president.
Yeah, saw that.
And just was part of probably the I would say the best college football team of all time.
So you, for that phase of your life, got a lot of attention. Do you think that's what sort of led you to go down the road you did?
Oh, no question, right? You go to USC, you're around, the rich and famous,
Mm-hmm.
Actors, and kids' parents are CEOs of Sony, and dads are doctors of the Lakers. And, these are like my fraternity brothers. And I'm watching all this. I'm like, man, I'm the son of a construction worker. And I'm watching it and I'm like, okay, what do I got to do to fit in? Like, how am I going to be able to afford to keep up with the Joneses, right?
Yeah.
So for me, that was like, okay, if I would have gone to the University of Hawaii or, some other, lower end college, I probably would have never been here today talking to you about Cocaine Quarterback.
So it was that drive to keep up with everybody that led you down that path.
Yeah, no doubt.
Interesting.
People are given that silver spoon.
Yes.
And I never had that.
Yeah, I come from a very similar background. Yeah. My family had nothing. I had to work for everything that I got. Okay, so continue.
So you win 2 national championships. You do something that's never been done, right? I was like the Rudy. I got cut from the volleyball team and I made the greatest football team of all time in college. I literally parlayed that into working for a USC alumni where I showed them my national championship rings and they're like, okay, you're hired, 6 figures working for a real estate development company.
Yeah. And to quote you, I don't know fuck all about real estate.
You don't need to, right? I didn't know much either, right? Yeah. I went in there and I'm like, fuck it. I got 2 national championship rings. And all they care about, I'm like their fucking errand boy, right?
Right.
They just want to say, look at this guy works for us and he won 2 national championships. It's like a raw thing for USC.
Okay.
It's like a feather in the cap for a USC alumni to have a champion in his office. So I ran with it. I made 6 figures in my first couple of years, and then the real estate market crashed.
Yep.
And I fucking pivoted again. I'm like, okay, what am I going to do now? Like, and I was like, fuck it. I want to be a bookie. I've been watching the Goodfellas, the Casino my whole life. And I was like, fuck it. I'm going to be a bookie. And I was like, people were like, how did you even think of that? I'm like, how did I think about it? I said, I was working on these big projects for this real estate developer. And I remember the contractor that had this $200 million contractor. He had $200 million contract with the company I was working for. And he used to leave the meetings and he would be on the phone with his bookie and be like, hey, I want 20,000 on the Dodgers tonight. I was like, fucking, I was just this kid, right? I was like 22 years old. I'm listening to this guy place bets. I'm like, man, whoever else is on the other line, I want to be that guy, right? And I remember when I got canned, I was like, man, I got to figure out how to be the guy on the line, right?
Yeah, I remember.
And I reached out to my father's friend who was a bookie. He was an Italian guy, and he was a bookie for many years. And I remember my father's like, son, you're not going to be a bookie. I said, Dad, come on. I said, I just got laid off. I said, I just graduated college. I said, I have no job. I said, you need to help me out. He didn't want to give me the contact.
Right.
Finally, after probably 3 days, he finally said, fuck it. Just go talk to Uncle Tony. We called him Uncle Tony.
Okay.
And Uncle Tony's like, no, man, your father doesn't want. I said, Uncle Tony, listen, it's temporary. I said, Pops, he gave me the blessing. It's temporary. I said, listen, I got fucking NFL guys that are all my buddies. I said, my boy was dating Paris Hilton. My other boy was dating Kim Kardashian. I fucking run LA now. I said, I fucking know everybody. I said, just give me a shot. And you know what I did, Bruce? I went back to the fucking contractor that was placing the bets. And I said, man, I noticed you bet. I said, I'm going to give you a good deal. He says, what are you going to give me? I said, I work for this new organization. And I said, I'm going to give you 10% off your losses. Every time you lose, guess what? I'm going to give you 10% off. I said, so if you lose 100, you only give me 90. And I said, if you pay me on Monday, Tuesday, I'm going to give you 10% free play. And he's like, what do you mean free play? And it's like giving a crack addict a piece of crack cocaine. Just a piece, right? Because you know they're going to fucking do it. And then right after they do it, what are they going to do? They're going to buy more, right?
That's right.
So I gave him that. So I remember the first week, this guy lost 100 grand. And I said, hey, just pay me 90. And he was like, fuck yeah, right? And I said, right when he paid me that 90, I said, hey, this 10,000's on me. Just it's free play. You lose it, you don't owe me. You win, guess what? You can cash out.
Fucking brilliant.
And I did that, and he's like, fuck. And next thing you know, I got him. He was my whale. The first 6 months, he lost $1 million cash. And this Uncle Tony paid me 20%, right? So I was like, oh, this is awesome. 20% is 200 grand, right?
Yeah.
And I'm picking up all these guys. My boys are in the NFL, and they're betting on baseball and basketball, and I'm getting.
Are you allowed to gamble when you play with teams?
As long as you're not betting against betting on the same sport you play.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. Makes sense.
And so Bruce, I'm collecting all this money, and I'm like, fuck, I think I got this backwards. Why is Uncle Tony making 80%? I'm making 20. These are my customers, right? And I go to Uncle Tony and I said, hey man, you need to bump up my percentage.
Yeah.
He says, I'm not doing it. I said, you're not doing it? I said, okay, Uncle Tony, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to figure this out. If you don't tell me that you're going to give me more percentage, I'm leaving and I'm going to figure it out myself.
Right.
And so I flew down to Costa Rica, which was the mecca of sports betting.
Okay.
And I went there and I was literally 24 years old, going to office trying to figure this out. Next thing you know, I take that 200 grand and I parlay it and I buy an office where I have basically a call center. I have a 1-800 number. I have servers that are offshore to make this shit legal.
Mm-hmm.
And I figured it out. I start this company.
At 24, dude.
Yeah.
Like most people are dumb as fuck at 24. And you already had to pivot twice. Yeah.
But I enjoy the pivot, man. It's like a dance for me, right? It's a wiggle. Like I said, I know how to wiggle.
That is the best business strategy. Anyone who's so fixated on one course of action will get fucking slaughtered in business.
That's right. So I literally came back to the US and I started betodog.com. ODog was my nickname in college.
Yep.
They used to call me Dr. ODog, like you saw in the documentary. So betodog was formed. Next thing you know, Bruce, I literally have everyone in LA betting with me, right? And betodog starts to grow. And it started to grow so fast, actually, Uncle Tony's organization got charged with a RICO, and the organization fell apart. So guess what ODog did? He said, oh, fuck, I got to take
for sure
Uncle Tony's clients.
Right.
And so now I made this agreement with everybody that brought me customers. I said, we're no longer paying 20%. I said, when you go into business with ODog, you're 50% partner.
Wow.
So I made everyone my 50% partner, and I made them responsible for their customers. I don't want to hear any excuses. If your guy loses and he doesn't pay you, I don't give a fuck. That's on you, because I'm paying you 50%. So you just should have enough money to make up for it. And that was my rule. And we went into business with everybody in the United States, and we started to expand. And I remember I had about 2,000 customers in the United States. And I said, hey, Beto Dog's expanding. We're going to call it Beto Dog International. We're going to Canada. We're going to fucking Mexico. We're going anywhere we can, right? And one of my sub bookies, which is like an agent, right? One of the guys that makes 50%. He brought a guy, unbeknownst to me, that was out of Mexico. And the first week, this guy lost $250,000. And I remember the agent paid in a duffel bag. And I was like, holy shit, dude. I said, whoever this guy is, you got a whale. Keep him happy, whatever he needs.
Right.
Next week, another 240. The third week, 260. So this guy combined in 3 weeks lost $750,000. And he paid on Monday. And this guy's not asking for discounts, nothing. I'm like, okay, this is a dream customer. I'm telling my sub bookie, I'm like, dude, keep him happy. Finally, hey, Bruce, 4th week, this guy's finally going to crack. It's fucking Sunday night. He's got a 5-team parlay with the Raiders. And he cracks me. And he cracks for 260, I think the final number was, right? And I'm calling his sub bookie. I'm like, hey, come here Sunday night. I said, he's like, what are you calling me on a Sunday night? I said, your player's going to fucking win finally. We're going to pay him. He's like, why are we going to pay him? I said, because that's what you do. You pay on Mondays. He says, why on Mondays? I said, the reason you pay him on Monday is because now it shows that we pay like he pays, right?
Nice. Yep.
And in business, if you pay someone on a Monday in the bookie business, you're a stand-up guy. Because most big bookies, what they do is they take from the losers, they collect Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then they go pay the winner on Thursday. But why fucking should he wait, you know?
Right.
And that was my business model, and that was the biggest mistake of my life, right? I'll tell you why, Bruce. When I paid that gentleman on a Monday at 8 a.m., the next day, this sub bookie comes back and he gives me an encrypted BlackBerry. I'm like, what the fuck's this? He says, my customer, he wants a thank you. I'm like, fuck, your customer? I'm like, that's your customer. You know, he goes, my customer wants a thank you. And I get this BlackBerry, and it's actually this Phantom BlackBerry from Canada, right? From Canada, right? It was this Phantom BlackBerry, and he's like, I'm like, what is it? There's fucking no microphone. The GPS is taken off. The camera's taken off. It's like a brick, Bruce. I'm looking at it. I'm like, fucking, how do I get into this thing? He gives me this Post-it, and it has 3 passwords, and I got to get into this Post-it. I got to get in this BlackBerry with these passwords. I'm looking at it. I'm fucking finally in. And it says, Wedo, I like the way you do business, right? And I already know Wedo means white boy in Spanish. So I said, okay, this guy's from Mexico, no doubt. I'm like, sir, whatever you need, you know, you're a VIP customer to us now, right? Like, that's how I treat my VIPs. Anything they want, we'll figure out. I tell people the business I ran was like running a business at the Wynn or the Aria Casino. We are like a casino host. And what happens when you fly to Vegas, right? They comp you rooms.
Yeah.
They give you money. They give you shopping sprees. So whatever he wants. If he wants a Lakers courtside tickets, it's on me. If he wants to fly into Vegas and stay at the fucking Four Seasons, it's on me. Whatever he wants, right? He just lost $750,000, right? So I'm like, fuck, whatever you want, sir. So he put that in his head and he utilized that. And come the next day, he says, hey, I know you probably have money all throughout the United States because most bookies do. He says, how would you like to make 10% on your money? I'm like, what do you need? He's like, drop off $100,000 in San Diego. I'm like, okay, simple. Call one of my agents. I say, hey, drop off $100,000 in Vista. No problem. I message, we'll call him El Jefe, right?
Yeah,
I say, hey, El Jefe, I just dropped off 100. He's like, great work. Where do you want 110,000 wired? I'm like, fuck, that was the fucking easiest 10 grand I've ever made, right?
Yes.
And I'm like, okay, now I'm figuring out, okay, now I'm taking my money on the US and I'm cleaning it through El Jefe, and he's literally wiring it into bank accounts in Costa Rica where my office is. So now I can pay my employees. So I'm like, okay, this is awesome. Next day, hey, I need 100,000 in North Carolina. Next day, 100,000 in Texas. I'm literally moving money everywhere.
Right.
And you do the math, right? It's math 101. If I make 10% a day, in 30 days, I make 300% return on my money.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fucking money I already have on the street.
That's right.
Right. So I was like, fuck it, let's run it. And after about a month of this, he asked me the infamous question. He says, do you mind picking up money? I'm like, what do you mean? I just dropped off all this money. Well, now you want me to pick it up? And he says, yeah, it's I got $1 million to pick up in Brownsville, Texas. He says it's rival territory. We're not allowed there.
Right. Yep.
And that right there, that was when I knew I was obviously crossing the line of illegal activity. Right now, he just notified me that they're not allowed there. So now my mind's thinking, okay, this is the cartel, right?
Yes.
But Bruce, remember, I'm the son of a construction worker. You know, what's $1 million? Do the math, Bruce. What is a 10% of $1 million?
100,000.
Exactly.
Right.
For a day's work.
Brother, you're not fucking preaching to me.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't know that anybody would do any different. Right. Like, because there's always that thought in your mind, am I going to get caught? You know, can I get away with it? It's a first offense or whatever. I don't know that anybody wouldn't make the same choice that you did. And I'm going to get into that mentality later on as you get deeper into it, but continue your story.
So I said, okay, for $1 million, I'm not obviously going to fly Southwest, right? You can't just fly. He told me in the private airport, I'm like, okay, I'm going to get a private plane. I'm going to get the cheapest one. I'm going to get a turboprop. They're about $2,500 an hour. I'm going to get the turboprop. I said, obviously, I'm going to need some muscle with me. So I got my boy Tank, who was an Avalon Crip, and he had a friend that was in a UFC fighter. I'm not going to say who. And we literally go on this.
It says it in the show.
Well, I don't think it says it. I'm not going to say it.
Okay.
Listen, it does say UFC fighters that we hung out with.
Oh.
Yeah, there's many of them, but he's not.
So that guy who got caught in the hotel, that's not who you're talking about?
No. That was from someone from Australia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was in Australia. So this UFC fighter literally comes on plane. I offer him $2,000 each to fly on the plane. We land in Brownsville, Texas. I get off the plane and I'm on that encrypted phone. I'm like, hey, I'm here. He's like, give me 5 minutes. And 5 minutes later, there's this literally this pickup truck that shows up in the private parking lot of this private airport. And the guy comes out and he's wearing, no joke, wearing overalls. It's a gardener, right? And he has a fucking lawnmower in the back of his truck. I'm like, holy shit, this can't be the guy, right? And he comes with a duffel bag and he says, "Este para el jefe." And it means this is for the boss, right? And I was like, fuck, okay. And all I'm thinking is rival territory, right? So Bruce, I'm literally like fast pacing, getting on that private plane.
Are you not anxious at all during?
Oh, I have anxiety. Right? Listen, I'm a young kid, man. I got a fucking $1 million duffel bag in front of me. I've never been around $1 million cash.
I'm going to tell you something off camera. Okay, but continue.
So I get on that plane and like Tank's looking at me and this fighter's looking at me and I'm like, I'm telling the pilot, let's go. We're done. And we take off and we land in the private airport in Torrance. And we touch down. I'm literally paying the pilot in cash. And I'm paying the 2 security guys I brought. Yeah. And I think that day I profited like, I want to say close to $75,000 in literally like between 6 and 8 hours, right? I'm like, holy shit. And I remember after I dropped off his El Jefe's $900,000, he's like, dude, I've never seen anyone work like you. He says, you're savage. Like you pulled that off. And I just did it like that. Yeah. I didn't blink.
I think one of your greatest skills is your ability to make things happen.
Yes.
Right. Like even throughout your career, which we'll get to, you were always able to go back to, as you said, that your Rolodex.
Yes, the Rolodex.
And make connections. But the only thing that I question is how good are your loyalties to these connections, right? That would be my fear, right? Like we all in here know a bunch of people, but how many of them would you trust with your life?
That's a good question, right? And you will see sooner in when I get arrested, when you realize that the loyalty falls apart when
and that's upsetting to me.
Yeah.
Because they're great when you're giving me money, right? When you and I are solid and you're fucking giving me 10,000, 20,000, I'm your boy, right? I'm loyal. But as soon as it's my ass on the line, fuck Owen.
Yeah, that's how it happens.
That's the problem, man.
Bunch of cockroaches, right? They just scatter.
Yep.
So listen, I fast forward right now. I'm fucking his like right hand in the United States, and he gives me the $1 million question. He says, "How would you like to do what you're doing now in the United States, but in Australia?" He says, "You'll make $1 million a day."
Yeah.
And I remember $1 million a day. I was like, "How is that possible?"
How old were you at that time?
I was 25 at the time.
Yeah, dude. Like you're fucking 25, dumb as fuck, man.
Yeah.
Who would say Who would say no to this?
You can't. Like, I'm not fucking, I don't come from that silver spoon, right?
Okay, but at that point, you hadn't fully crossed the line.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah.
And you were making bank, dude. But it's that inevitable question. Can you be satisfied with enough, or do you want it all?
Man, I was ambitious. I wanted it all.
I hear you, dude. You're fucking preaching to the choir, dude.
I was ambitious, man. I didn't get a set of balls from just sitting back and watching, right? I wanted that power, right? I wanted the women, and I wanted to be the man.
Yeah.
Like there's that feeling that's different when you're a beta. There's that feeling when, as an alpha, that you're the man when you have that money, and
it's never enough.
It's never enough. But you learn, right? In life, everything happens for a reason, and we'll get onto my life and my prison stories when we get there. But listen, at the time, I was the man. I was like, I'm going to figure it out. And he's like, $1 million a day. I'm like, okay, what's the catch? And he says, I got product over there. And I'm like, product? He's just like, yeah, I got cocaine in Australia. And he says, your job is to handle the logistics, and you're going to be picking up the cash. And I'm like, okay, for $1 million a day, I'm going to figure this out. Right? And I remember he told me product. He's like, your job's to move it. I'm like, fuck, I don't know much about kilos, right? Like in college, sure, we moved a gram here, an ounce here, but never a fucking kilo. And I said, all right, let me figure this out. And I sat back and I go to that Rolodex, and I'm like, okay, there was a kid at USC that was on the baseball team. And I remember him telling me his brother was in the international weed game. I'm like, I'm going to start there. I literally drove to USC and I found this kid. He was actually getting his master's degree, and still he was actually like a assistant coach. And I go to him and I said, hey, your brother was in an international weed game. I said, I need to talk to him. And he told me, he says, you got to go to San Diego. San Diego is only 2 hours from LA. So I get down to San Diego and I meet the brother, and I'm telling him, I said, hey, your brother told me you were in the international game. And back then, weed's nothing. Right? Everyone's growing weed now. Everyone's selling weed at this time. So I'm like, hey, I need to speak to someone that knows this cocaine game. He looked at me. He's like, I don't fuck with the white. He says, but the guy I'm playing racquetball with right now, that dude fucks with the white, and he's big in the international the drug game. He's in the part of the syndicate, right? I'm like, okay, how do I talk to him? He's like, I'll introduce you. So I go and meet this guy. We'll call him Uncle Louie, right?
Okay.
I go and meet Uncle Louie, and I sit down, and I start talking to him, and he says, whoa, nephew. He called me nephew. Typical Italian. He goes, we do not speak about anything illegal in the United States. I'm looking at him. I'm just a young kid, right? He's like, I've been in trouble in the U.S. I've got indicted. He says, I live in Italy. He says, if you want to talk business, we don't talk about on U.S. soil. He says, come to Naples, Italy, where I'm from. I'm like, really? So fucking fast forward 2 weeks later, and I'm in Naples, Italy. He picks me up in this fucking Fiat. He has this goddamn Puma jumpsuit on, typical Italian gangster, right? And he picks me up, and he says, come on, nephew. And we drive in this little Fiat, and we go to this villa. He has 2 villas, and he has this fucking vineyard full of fucking winery, right? This big old winery. And I'm like, holy shit. Now I see why this guy was so paranoid. We sit down, and he's telling me, he's like, listen, I've been in this business, 40 years. He says, but I'm going to tell you, I don't talk about anything unless you come to my country. I'm like, fuck, respect to this guy, right?
Yeah.
I sat down there. I said, dude, I got a fucking guy that he's been gambling. He works for the cartel. I don't know who, but man, he told me he has work. He has cocaine in Australia. He goes, man, he looked at me. He says, man, he said, nephew, stop wasting my time. He says, no one has cocaine in Australia. He says, that's the hardest place in the world to get it to.
Yep.
I said, dude, I'm not lying. I'm telling you the truth. This guy, he's not someone to blink an eye. Like this guy, everything he's done, everything he said, he's done. He owed me fucking $750,000 he paid me. I picked up $1 million cash. It was there. Like I said, this guy's not lying to me. And he says, he looked at me and goes, all right, well, go to Australia. And when you see it with your own eyes, message me on my encrypted phone. And he goes, we'll go from there. And I was like, fuck, right? Now I'm like, what am I going to tell El Jefe, right? Because I'm trying to put this deal together.
Yep.
So I get on the encrypted phone and I tell El Jefe, I got a guy. We're ready to go. I'm lying. Right? So
that took balls too.
Yeah, that took balls. I took a shot, right? It was an open-ended parlay. I was like, okay, if this hits, I'm going to hit. So I fucking get back to the U.S. and he says, okay, get to Sydney, Australia. And I'm literally in Sydney, Australia now. And now I got to lie to fucking Uncle Louie, right? Because now he wanted me to see the product, and I already know a Hefe's waiting for me. So I get on that encrypted phone. I said, hey, I seen the product with my own eyes. It's here, right? 2 days later, fucking Uncle Louie shows up to Sydney, Australia, and he gets a place in Coogee Beach, which is right next to Bondi. And Uncle Louie's like, okay, let's work. I'm like, okay, let me get back on the encrypted phone. And I tell Hefe, hey, we're ready. And he's like, okay, get a room at the Four Seasons Hotel in Sydney, Australia. He says, as soon as you get your room, send me the room number. So I was like, okay. At this time, I've already done my homework. And Bruce, for 2.5 kilos or more in Australia, it's a life sentence, right? So my whole mindset switched. It's not the same as picking up cash in California.
Yep.
And I was like, okay,
this
is now a life sentence. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, I don't need to be around this. I'm actually going to get a room right next to me for Uncle Louie. And I'm going to go in there. And as soon as I purchase this room, I'm going to make sure Louie's right next to me. So I get room 426 and Uncle Louie's 428. I message El Jefe, hey, I'm in room 426. Literally in 25 minutes, I get a knock on the door. And this guy shows up and he's in this DHL outfit. And he hands me this package. I'm like, holy shit. I was so nervous, Bruce. I'm literally knocking on the fucking wall right next to me. Hey, Uncle Louie, get over here right now. I'm panicking.
Oh, fuck.
I got fucking 4 life sentences in this fucking box, right? So I'm holding this fucking box, and Uncle Louie gets over there, and he's like, holy shit, nephew. And he's holding it, and he fucking literally cuts it open. It's like the movies, right? Now he's looking at, we got 10 bricks in there. And he cuts one open, and he fucking did a bump, and he's like, holy shit. He knew right there. He says, you weren't lying, nephew. You couldn't believe it. I said, get it out of here. Dude, I was so stressed, Bruce. I was like, get this shit out of here, man. And he takes it, and he's like, I'll be back. Literally 30 minutes later, fucking Uncle Louie shows back, and he brings me $1 million cash. And this was the test run, right?
Yeah.
This was just to test it out and see if it would work. And, at the time, I was charging Uncle Louie $100,000 a kilo. I didn't care what he charged. That's on him.
Yeah. Yep.
So I now have 100,000 times 10, which is $1 million. And the deal I made with El Jefe was half of it he kept and half of it I kept. So I just made fucking $500,000 on the test run, not even the real run. And Uncle Louie goes, when can we do it again? I'm like fucking messaging El Jefe. He goes, I'm going to have 20 more dropped off same time, same place tomorrow. We worked Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We took off on the weekends and we did it again Monday. So now I'm getting duffel bags of $2 million a day. $1 million for me, $1 million for El Jefe. So now you see why I'm making $1 million a day.
Yep. Yeah, I remember.
And it was like, holy shit. Now I'm in my Sydney apartment and I'm literally stuffing this shit in my garbage. I'm putting in my dishwasher. I'm putting in my microwave. I'm putting in my freezer. I'm putting in my fucking duffel bags and my suitcases inside my closet. I'm sitting on 10 million now. I'm like, okay, this is enough. Like I gotta tell El Jefe, like, hey, let's come pick this shit up, right? And I finally message him and I say, hey, El Jefe, when are you gonna pick this up? And he says, Wedo, you don't remember? I said, what do you mean? He goes, that's why you're making $1 million a day. I'm like, oh fuck. Like, how am I gonna fucking figure this out now? I've cleaned money in the US, but I've never been in another country.
Yeah.
And you saw what I did, man. I got creative. I got creative. I started buying, $500 euro notes and sending it back in comic books, all the way to buying Ugg boots and putting gold 1-ounce coins in the bottom of the Ugg boots, 4-ounce, 1-ounce rounds of gold, which at the time was about $6,000. And I put them in 2 pairs of Uggs. So you'd have about between $12,000 and $14,000 of gold in Ugg boots. Cause at the time Ugg boots were like the most popular thing. Yeah. And I was sending like 100 Ugg boots a week back. And it wasn't.
That's a fucking.
Just a little fucking cunt hair, right? It was just nothing. And I was like, fuck, this ain't even put in a dent, right? And I'm like, fuck, I got to think of plan B. I was dating this girl at the time and she's like, why don't you run it through the casinos? And I was like, through who? And she's like a whale, like a professional gambler. I'm like, do you know anyone? And she's like, yeah. She's like, I got a fucking blackjack guy that he's famous in Vegas. He's what's known as a whale. She goes, why don't you meet him? And I was like, well, introduce me. So I fly back into the U.S. and I meet this guy at the Fairmont Hotel. And his name is Robin Hood 702, right? Yeah. And he's just this pompous motherfucking asshole. Arrogant, I'm like looking at him. And I'm just like, I can't believe I'm about to go into business with this cocky son of a bitch. And he tells me, he shakes my hand. He goes, I'll do it for 25%. And I'm like, okay. So what are you going to do? He's like, I'm going to play it through the casinos. I'm like, how? And he's like, I'm a blackjack player. Everyone knows who I am. I'm like, I'm doing some Google searches. I'm like, okay, yeah, you're a blackjack player. He says, I'll have my casino host call the casino in Australia. I'll come there. They'll already know I'm coming. I'm going to come pick up the cash at your place. I'll take that 1.5 million because that's what we're going to start with.
Yep.
And we'll use that money, 1.5. I'll show up as this whale. And he says, I'll cash it out for chips. And he says, I'll play a couple hands for a couple hours. And he says, guess what? I'll take the chips and I'll tell him, hey, I'm not feeling it. I want to go back to America. So that's what he did. It worked awesome.
Yeah.
He cashed it out. 2 hours later, he got a check for 1.5 million. He flew back to Las Vegas where he's already a whale. He comes with his check and he literally starts playing over there and they ask him, what do you want? Chips or cash? He's already a known guy in Vegas. They give him cash, give him chips. Within 48 hours, my fucking phone rings and he's like, we're done. I cleaned it. He goes, minus your 25%.
25% would still be hard to take, dude. Like I wouldn't want to give up 25 points.
Listen, at this time, I was desperate.
Yeah.
Because listen, you see how fast I'm moving? Like, I'm not even putting a dent when I'm doing all these gold coins.
Yeah, your little things, yeah.
I'm like, fuck it, 25 points. At this point, you're making so much money. It's like, who cares?
Yeah. No, I understand. Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, fuck, this has worked awesome. I'm telling El Jefe, hey, I got close to $1 million for you. Where do you want it? So I'm paying him his. He's happy. He's like, fucking keep going over there, Dueto. He's like, you're the fucking man, right? And then fast forward 2 weeks later, and guess what? He's like, I'm ready to do it again. And Robin Hood now he goes, he's what do you got? I said, dude, I got a couple suitcases right now. I got like 2.5. You want to take that? And those were already ready. So I'm like, come take that. Now I give him the 2.5 and he does the same thing, supposedly, right? 3 hours later, he calls me. I'm like, fuck, that was fast. And I answer the phone and he says, hey, we got a problem. I said, what do you mean?
You were with your trainer at that time,
yeah,
right?
I was with my personal trainer in the gym. And he says, I'm down to 300,000 and I need more money. And I was like, wait, what? You just had 2.5 million. You're down to, he goes, I need more money. I'm like, wait, well, listen, you're not getting more money, first of all. Second of all, actually, my personal trainer and I are going to come see you right now because we're thinking the guy robbed us.
Yeah.
Right? Like anybody would think, like this guy stole it from us. And my trainer is looking at him. He's like, not possible. He says, he goes, I got a pit boss at the Star Casino. He goes, we'll run it by the pit boss. And I was like, you know what? We're going to show up in 3-piece suits, right? I got in a 3-piece suit. My trainer's fucking swole. He got in a 3-piece suit. And we showed up to the Star Casino, and I'm not going to lie, Bruce, this man was shaking like a leaf. He was like, you could tell he was nervous. And my personal trainer, Sean, he went to the pit boss, and the pit boss is like, dude, he came with the money. He blew through all of it. I'm like, no fucking way. Like, how? How's that possible? He says he was playing like $60,000 a hand and playing like 3 hands at a time. And so now we confront him, and we're like, fucking passport. And I said, where's the 300 grand? He goes, I have 300 grand. I left it at my hotel room. I kept it in the safe. I said, okay, well, guess what? You're going to give me your passport and your 300 grand, and you're going to come meet us because I don't want you leaving the country. And at this time, Bruce, I'm like, I'll take any money. Like this is money lost. I need anything he has. I don't trust this man.
Mm-hmm.
So we literally, Sean and I, this personal trainer, we go get a room at the at the Hilton, which is in Sydney. And we call him. We said, hey, we're in room 1326. Bring the 300 and make sure you bring your passport. You're not leaving the country. 4 hours goes by. This motherfucker just doesn't show up.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, fuck, man, where is this motherfucker? And now I'm so stressed out, Bruce. I'm telling my personal trainer, you know what? Let's go back to my studio apartment. We get back there and start popping Vicodin, Xanax, taking white wine to the dome. I'm like, man, I'm so depressed now. Like, I just lost 2.5 million. Like, what am I going to do?
Did you have a conversation with Robin Hood about potential losses and who would be responsible?
Never. We shook hands. Listen, it was an agreement, 25%. If you are making 25%, guess what? You can't lose more than 25%.
Right.
That's an agreement. If you want to lose 25%, that's on you, but the other 75% is mine.
Right.
That's how this is how this business works.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So that you had that understanding.
Yes, that was the understanding. Yeah, there's no, oh, you could possibly lose. I'm not going to go into a possibly lose situation. This is not my money to lose.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm panicking and I'm like, fuck, I'm sitting there in my apartment and my trainer's looking at me and we're fucking drinking this white wine. And I remember finally the phone rang and it was him. He's like, hey, I'm coming. Sorry. I got the 300. I'm like, fuck yeah. I was like, what a relief. And I tell my personal trainer, I'm like, okay, he's going to bring you 300. Like I told you before, my mind thinks a mile ahead always. So I'm like, okay, let's do the math. I said, you know what? I'm so paranoid right now because the guy knows where I live. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to start getting some of this cash out of this place. I'm still sitting on close to $5 million.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, okay, let's put 700 grand because he's going to give you 300. I said, that's $1 million. I said, you know what, Sean, take this 700 grand suitcase. And as soon as you get to the harbor where you're going to go meet this guy at the Hilton, I said, grab the 300, put it in the bag. And as soon as this meeting's done, grab that passport and go back to your place and stash this $1 million. That's how my mind was thinking. He goes, no problem. So he takes the roller and he literally walks. It's like 4 blocks from my studio apartment. And he shows up at the Hilton and he's got this roller suitcase with 700 grand in it. And he gets there and he goes to check in and there's 4 New South Wales police waiting.
Isn't it 702,000?
702,000, yes.
Yeah.
We didn't know it was 702 grand. We thought it was 700 grand. Supposedly they counted and it was 702. You know, fuck if I know if that's true. It sounds pretty good though. I'm sure Robin Hood loved that. Right. So they say, hey, we got a call that from an American man that you had a gun in your room.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And he says, I don't have no fucking gun in my room. And they said, well, we got to check your bags. As soon as they opened that bag, guess what? There was no gun, but there was 700,000.
You're fucked.
Fucked, right? And I don't know. I don't know it at the time, right? Because all I told my trainer, as soon as you get it, call me. And I'm kicking back at the apartment. Why hasn't he called me? 4 hours goes by and he hasn't called me. I'm like, okay, now my trainer burned me. That's all my mind was thinking. Yeah. My trainer just burned me. Now I'm down 3.2 million of not my money, but the cartel's money, right? I'm like, fuck. Fucking 6 hours goes by and I get a call from the New South Wales Police Department. And they call me and they got this strong fucking Aussie accent. They're like, we're calling regarding the 700,000 we picked off from Sean Carlin, your personal trainer. And I'm like, God damn it, this couldn't get any worse. They're like, we need you to come in and discuss this. I'm like, I'm not going to any police station right now. Like, I'm fucking paranoid now. God, I'm 6 Xanax deep now. And I'm fucking drinking more white wine than coffee I drank today. And I'm like, fuck, I'm fucked. And I literally, like, I'm panicking now. Fucking Sean Carolyn gets out and he shows up to my door and he's like, mate, this fucking bloke is fucking telling on us. I said, what do you mean he's telling us? He said, they fucking called the cops. They talked about the money. They knew everything. I said, well, fucking, what are they doing? He says, they're looking for you. I'm like, no, hell no. I'm like, no, they're not looking for me. He goes, yeah. I'm like, now I'm panicking. I'm like, I got to get out of Australia. And he's like, mate, don't worry. He says, we're going to get that 700 back, that 700 grand back. I told him you're one of my investors. I'm like, you did? And so now there's like hope. I have hope that I'm going to get some money back, right? Yeah. But at the same time, I know I got to get out of Australia.
What was more concerning to you, the money that you owed or your fucking ass?
No, the money I owed. Fuck. I didn't care about my ass at the time. I was like, fuck it, I got to pay these guys back. Like, this is not mine, right? And I already knew who I was dealing with. It's not like I'm just dealing with some guy off the street.
Right.
This is like next level.
That's the level.
At the time, I'm not going to say what cartel it is, but it was the most infamous cartel in the world at the time, right? So I'm like, fuck, I am fucked.
Oh, man. I'm getting flashbacks.
Dude, I get on that plane and the fucking first message I have when I turn on that encrypted phone is from El Jefe. And he says, Wedo, I need $3 million dropped off right now in San Diego. I'm like, oh, hell no. And now you ask yourself, Bruce, do you write him back and you say, hey, I don't have the money, I just lost it? Or do you tell the guy like, hey, I need to meet you? And that's what saved my life, right?
Yep.
I told him, I said, hey, I need to meet you right now. I'm like, there's no way I'm going to fucking look over my shoulder the rest of my life and try to run from this guy. There's no way. They'll find me. They can find anybody.
Yep.
I mean, fuck, look at what they've done. They've found anybody and everybody. I remember I was in prison with a guy named Chino Anthrax, and he was the hitman for Chapo Guzman at the time. And the guy literally got out of prison after he sung like a canary and told on all the lieutenants for the cartel. Within 2 months, they found that man and had him killed. Like, that shows how powerful these people are. So I was like, fuck that. I'm not going to run. I'm going to face the music, and I'm just going to be transparent with these people.
So let me ask you, in the movies and even in your show, they sort of romanticize the cartels, right? They don't really show the darker side to it. Is there that dark side?
Oh, fuck, is there? It's the darkest. I've seen some things, and I've talked about it on the Nelk Boys, and I've seen some things literally where guys are getting their heads chopped off. And I've seen it with my own eyes, and they're just showing it just to show me, like, hey, this is what we do. Like, if you want to fucking step, like, and I've just seen a small percentage, right? Like, I know there's even worse. I've seen guys hanging off bridges, and I mean, it's dark, right? There's nothing nice about it. And I tell you what, when I knew I had to meet him the next week, and he flew in on his private plane with his 10 Sicarios. And I said, this is the only chance I got. I'm going to just tell him the truth. And I remember he said 1 p.m., McDonald's parking lot, Tijuana border. And I crossed that bridge, and I got to the Tijuana border, and I'm literally in McDonald's sitting there with my encrypted phone at 12:55. And I'm like, I'm here. And sure, like 1 o'clock on the dot, that motherfucker had a black SUV, bulletproof Suburban pull up. And that window rolled down. This is how you know it's bulletproof. Was when the window rolls down, it's like that thick of glass. And it doesn't go down all the way. And they say, Wedo, get in the car. And I'm like, okay, this is my arrival, right? And I open the door, and I sit in that Suburban in the back chair, and I look at the driver, and he has a pistol here. And then I turn around, and I got 2 Sicarios in the back, and 2 Sicarios are Mexican hitman.
Yeah.
And they're literally wearing bulletproof vests with AK-47s, and they're just holding them right there. I'm like, oh, this is it. I said, they're going to take me into the desert. They're going to shoot me, and I'm going to disappear.
Yeah.
Like, that's all I was thinking in my head. But keep in mind, Bruce, I just literally self-medicated. I fucking took 6 Vicodin, 4 Xanax, a shot of GHB, and I was like, fuck it. If I'm going to die today, I'm going to die in peace, right? Like, I'm going to be comfortable, right? Like, that's so by the time I got in that car, I was just like, okay, it's going to happen, right? And I was just literally sitting there. We get on the toll road, and now we have this motorcade, and literally there's a fucking Hummer SUV with another Suburban in front of us, and now we're like going southbound. 20 miles later, we're in this town called Puerto Nuevo, which is this lobster town, like 20 minutes past Rosarito. And we get into this town, and it's like deserted. And the restaurant was shut down. I kid you not, this restaurant, every time I've been there, and I've been there probably 100 times, this restaurant usually has a line out the door. Like, it's a 20-minute wait, and that's with a $20 tip to get in. And this guy has it shut down, right? And I'm like, how the fuck did he have it shut down? And you get in there, and there's one lady making tortillas, and there's one waiter for us. And I sit down at this table, and he has 3 Sicarios on each side, and he's sitting here like this, like a boss, right? I'm like, oh, fuck.
And prior to this, you've never seen him?
I've just been talking to him on encrypted phones. And now I'm like, oh, fuck. And then I'm sitting down. I still got the 2 Sicarios that were behind me in the car. Now they're behind me at the restaurant. And we're broad daylight with fucking weapons out. I'm like, this is not right. This shit straight out of the movies. I'm like telling people, like, this can't be happening right now. Like, could you imagine if that happened in the U.S.? Like, if that happened in the U.S. and you saw people with fucking guns, people would shit.
Yeah.
And the restaurant was shut down, so I guess people don't shit. So I was there, and I'm like, my anxiety's bad. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to tell them the truth. Like, that's all I could do. Like, this is the only chance I have. And I'm like, El Jefe, I promise, man. I remember I said the 1.5 we cleaned, and I gave you the $1 million in San Diego, and he's just sitting me. He's reading me at this point. He's reading me like a book.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, dude, we did it again, 2.5. And I'm telling him, and he's looking at me. He's like, Wedo, I know all this. And I'm like, okay, how does he know? Right. And he's like, it's in the newspaper. It's all over. He did his homework. Right.
Yeah.
And I didn't know at the time because I'm fucking running around like a chicken with my head cut off.
You're right.
I'm not Googling my name. Right. And he's like, I know. He says, I see it all. You're telling me the truth. I'm you'll comprende, right? He's understanding.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. And he says, but unfortunately, he says, you know, the famous saying in Mexico, he tells me, plata or plomo. He just threw it out there real quick. And I already knew the saying. It's plata, means you pay me, or plomo, it was lead.
Yeah.
You get the fucking lead to the head, right?
Yeah.
And I already knew the saying. I'm like, yeah, fuck. That's a fucking Escobar saying, first of all, right? I'm looking at him like, okay, fucking plata or plomo. He goes, the good news, though, there's good news and there's bad news, Widow. He says, the good news is you don't owe me $3.2 million. He says, you owe me $4 million now with interest. That was the good news, right? I owe him $4 million now. He says, but Widow, the bad news is, he says, now you work for the cartel. And I was like, fuck. And I was like, fuck. All I could think about, Bruce, was like, okay, these guys behind me aren't going to kill me today. That's all I could think about. I was like, fuck yeah, I'm going to make it out of here alive today.
Yeah.
And he had a cold Corona, and it was fucking, I had a fucking margarita right there, and he saluted. And I'm not going to lie, Bruce, I cheersed him, and I just fucking guzzled that motherfucker. I was so excited I was going to live.
Yeah.
Like I had another chance at life.
See, in your show, they say that you offered the.
That's not true. Listen, I can't offer anything. These guys control the fucking entire country of Mexico. And you're not going to come with them and, hey, can I give you this? It doesn't work like that.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because in the story, it's like you owed them 3.2.
Yeah.
And then you came up with the idea saying, El Jefe, I'll give you 4.
Yeah, right. But if you read my book, The California Kid, I tell it how it happened. But anyways, it was $4 million.
Yeah.
And that was the new marker on my head.
Yeah.
And he said 2 years, you're taking off. When he told me that, I was like, that's interesting. And he's like, you're taking 2 years off because, listen, you're hot. He says, you're hot.
No shit.
Yeah, he made me take 2 years off.
That wasn't in the story either.
No, so that was 2000. I met him in 2012. So we took 2 years off.
And what did you do for those 2 years?
He says, run your sports book. He says, that's it. He says, still take your bets. He says, nothing with the exchanging of money for me. Nothing with the fucking cocaine. We're done.
Fuck, dude, he trusted you that much.
He made me. I had no choice. Like, it was like, he wanted the heat off me.
Yeah,
he figured
smart.
2 years would be enough time. And usually it is. Like a state case, that would be enough time. 2 years. They're not
and $4 million to him, I imagine, is fuck all.
It's a drop in the bucket, right?
Yeah.
Peanuts. But that's the kind of people you're dealing with at that level. Like, they're testing you.
One thing I was curious about, and perhaps you can allude to this, is the Robin Hood 702 guy. Why didn't they do something about him?
Okay, so that's a good question. A lot of people ask that. But at the end of the day, remember, I'm the one that's responsible for this money.
I get it. But they could have done you a solid and solved your problem.
Don't get me wrong. They did do me a solid, but the solid hurt me. They sent people, like they sent a beheading video to him. Like he found
that wasn't in the fucking story.
They found the family. They sent a beheading video and saying, listen, you take money from the cartel, this is what happens. And they got a fucking chainsaw chopping off a dude's head.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, they couldn't show that in the movie. But it happened. It's in FBI records. Like they have discovery on this. And he got a package from Mexico, and it was sent to his wife. And they basically said, hey, your husband stole our money. And this is what happens to people that stole our money. And literally it's the fucking Mexicans from the cartel speaking Spanish to her, addressing her, and cutting off the necks of people that stole from them.
Wow.
Yeah. So they did that, but it hurt me. Like when I went for my bail hearing, they showed that video during my bail hearing.
Oh, fuck.
And the fucking judge is like, you're not getting out. like it wasn't even me. That's what pisses me off.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't even me. So it did hurt me. But at the end of the day, I think it put the fear of God in him, and it made him become the FBI informant. Like he was scared for his life.
It pushed him, right?
Yeah, he was scared for his life. And you watch the dog, you watch the documentary. Oh, I'm not scared. If you're not scared, then why would you drive into the police department? Like they show you.
Yeah.
Like if you weren't scared.
Yeah, he came off as I didn't like him in the.
I showed his true character, right? Everyone I've talked to, I probably get 50 direct messages a day about this documentary.
Yeah, of course.
And everyone's just like, dude, that guy is a compulsive liar. I'm like, they did a great job showing him who his true colors are.
Was that really him?
That's him.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
He came off as too arrogant and very unlikable. I wanted you to win, right? You rooting for the bad guy.
Yeah, you're rooting, but was I really that bad?
Well,
Right?
I mean, you what you were doing was wrong.
Yeah, of course, absolutely.
Right? But I don't look at drug dealers in the same way as I look at, say, murderers or rapists.
Yeah.
I actually, I look at those people far worse.
Yeah.
To me, drug dealing is a business if you choose to get into it.
Yeah.
It has its ramification. It has its penalties. Some people argue that you are hurting other people's lives, which I agree, but I just, maybe I'm fucked up, but I look at drug dealers differently than I look at murderers and rapists.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I did deserve to go to prison, no doubt. I fucking broke the law. But at the end, like I came to this interview because I'm a businessman. I'm an entrepreneur.
Yep.
And I was telling Aaron, I said, I'm so tired of telling the story. But to be honest, I'm telling the story because you're in the business of something that I'm getting into.
Mm-hmm.
And like you see in my documentary, I always use that Rolodex. So for me, this is just a play to enhance that business that I'm going to get into because you're an OG in the business, right? And for me, that would be like going to meet El Chapo Guzman and learn about the drug trade, right?
I'm not going to cut your fucking head off.
Right? But now I'm in a legitimate legal business.
Yeah.
And you've been in this space for many, many years.
Yeah, thank you.
And you've been successful at it. So I'm like, okay, you know what? I told my PR team, I said, you know what? This will be a good one just because I can learn from this guy. And we're not only talking about the drugs. Everyone wants to know about the story. And that's why we're here. But we're going to get into, the future, right? From putting bad things on the streets to now healthy treats. And that's my new motto.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did anything ever, like the Robin Hood guy, he's still free and clear? Like,
yeah, he's an FBI informant. It's known, it's publicized. He still is working with them. He's still taking down gamblers. He still goes to Las Vegas, and he's gotten other people indicted.
Don't you think he deserves punishment?
Listen, I believe in karma, right? And,
I'm not good with that though.
I don't believe what he's doing is right. And I always tell people his days are going to come, right? Like I'm going to be far away when it happens. Like I'm not going to be.
But don't you want to feel like I have this conversation with my instructors for some reason? Yes, karma exists, but I want to be the person who makes that karma happen to that person. And I'm not comfortable allowing it to happen at some point. I want to initiate that karma. I need to know that you tried to fuck me over and I got my revenge.
Yeah, listen, of course there's going to be that animosity with me, but at the end of the day, my success is going to be my karma back. Like I'm going to make it again, and I'm going to make it legally, and I'm going to be like, you thought you could take me down? Well, guess what? I'm on top again, and I did it legally. And to me, that's going to be like the biggest rah-rah. Like, I got you.
Well, you're a better man than me then.
Yeah, of course. Listen, I did 10 years, and this guy was the guy that brought this operation down. And I just.
What was it like in prison?
Prison sucked, man.
Yeah.
Listen,
10 years.
10 years is a long time, but you know what? When I paid him, like eventually I paid the cartel back, and that's that was the key.
Here's the interesting point. And because my fiance and I were talking about it when we were watching it, and she was like, he can walk away right now. Fucking, he paid the $4 million back to the cartel. Did you have any money of your own at that point?
No, at that point I started making money.
Okay.
Yeah, I started making money. I still had the gambling operation. You got to remember the gambling operation was making $1 million a year. Just off the gambling. Easy clearing $1 million for me. Easy.
Nice.
So it was a well-oiled machine. People are like, oh, why don't you use that money to pay him back? Listen, I'm not going to take something from this entity that's making me money and all of a sudden be broke. I mean, El Jefe looked at it like he's told me to go run the gambling business. Keep your... Right. These people are businessmen. At the end of the day, they could run a Fortune 500 company. No question. So
why? Well, I know the answer to it, but why did you not walk away at that point? You could have stopped with the cartel. You could have continued with your the gambling money.
Correct. The guy gave me a lifeline. Like he said, he told me, he gave me the ultimatum.
Yeah,
what do you want to do? Like, what do you want to do? I'm like, I feel like I owed it to this dude. He kept me alive. And I'm like, fuck it. I was so good at it, Bruce. I was like, I really became this logistics quarterback for the cartel. I was a signal caller, right? Yes. I literally was calling plays on my BlackBerry, like, put 50 kilos in fucking New York, put 50 in Philly right now, put 100 in Italy. I mean, I was literally fucking throwing these guys fucking kilos of cocaine everywhere in the world.
So in the movie, it describes you as coming up with the idea of liquefying the cocaine and putting was it wine?
Wine from
Right.
Napa Valley. Yeah.
Yes.
That
And
was
you came up with that.
That was mine. Yeah.
Dude, that's fucking brilliant.
You got to get creative, right? Like I tell people, when your back's against the wall, you have to figure out.
Did you ever see a show on, I think Netflix, it's called Queen of the South?
I heard.
Yes.
She was doing it, but listen,
With tequila.
I was doing it way before her.
I checked into this. Dude,
like I could document that.
Yeah. Because Jockey's like, I wonder if she fucking took the idea from Owen.
No, she took it from my boss for sure. Like they told her I was doing it. There's no question. Like they knew what I was doing. So I guarantee it got relayed in Mexico, because I heard that. And I heard about
Teresa
this when
Mendoza,
I was in prison. They were doing it in tequila. I'm like, dude, that was buying a long time ago, because I was watching Queen of the South.
Yeah.
When I was in prison, I'm like, dude, that was fucking my line. Like I pulled that off.
Like, despite all your fuckery and things that you fucked up, what a story you've got, though.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, because at the end of the day, when we're old as fuck, you your legacy, your story is fucking incredible, right? So you could feel bad about how you fucked up your life. I don't know if you do, or you could feel about, you know what, I fucked up. I paid I paid for my mistakes, and what a fucking story I have.
Yeah, I feel bad for my family out there, my loved ones that had to go through this. And yeah, of course I feel bad if, distributing cocaine and ruining people's lives. No question, right? But
do you not feel that people are willingly, like, you're not forcing people to buy cocaine?
I'm not saying sniff this line right now. Right? You're going to eventually go buy it, whether it's from me or fucking 10 other guys on the corner.
Absolutely.
So listen, they have their own choice. They're adults.
Right. That's why I don't view it as horrible as someone like who's a murderer or a fucking rapist.
Yeah. But I do, my number one feeling bad moment was watching my family and my loved ones suffer. And they told me every time they saw me, they said, "Owen, you're not the only one in prison. We go home and we feel like we're in prison." And seeing that from my ex-wife and my father and my mother, my sister, I'm like, man, I fucked up. And that's what I feel bad about.
Yeah, I could see that. What did you learn about life in prison?
I mean, listen, you learn a lot, right? You learn in prison that you got to be yourself. Right? I tell people, like, if I was the Owen Hanson when I went to college and was not trying to fit in with all these rich kids, and I would never have been put in this situation. And just you could be yourself and get to the top if you don't cut corners. And once I crossed that illegal activity, because at the end of the day, bookmaking is not a big thing. Now it's legal in 38 states. It's legal on the federal side.
Right.
If I would have just kept going down that path of bookmaking, I probably would have been the CEO of DraftKings by now, right? Like, people come and say, man, you're like the trailblazer of fucking sports betting online, right? Like, and I think to myself, I said, okay, if I would have just kept that straight and narrow, and instead I wanted to be that hare, right? The turtle in the hare, and the rabbit cuts corners. And if I would have just been that turtle and been slow and steady, I would have got to that CEO position for DraftKings, right? But as a kid that's ambitious and around this wealth,
and you wanted it quick,
I wanted it fast, and I have that problem now, right? And I still have the.
I think you and I are more alike than you fucking know.
Yeah, I fucking come out of prison, and then people are like, "God, you're doing so well, and you're like 7 states and you've been out of prison 7 months," and I'm like, I want to be in 52 states. Like I want to be in every state. Like, come on, like. I want to manufacture in Canada. I want to manufacture in Mexico.
Yep.
And it's just, that's how I am.
I'm the exact same way. I have zero patience. Anyone who knows me will tell you that.
Yeah.
Like, I have no patience. Like, as you said, for me, I'm not here. My mind is there.
Yes.
And then I force reality to catch up to where I want to be. It's the same shit, dude.
When I was in prison, I like that mind one. Because when I was in prison, people are like, "Oh, poor Owen, he's in prison." I'm like, no, I'm not in prison. I said, my body's in prison, but my mind's on the street.
Yep.
I said, when I was going to have that cold protein shake that I would drink out of that mop bucket, I said, I wasn't drinking it out of a mop bucket. I was drinking it out of the Earth Bar in Equinox Gym, because that's how I made my mind think. When I was working out, pull-ups off the bunk bed or push-ups off the toilet seat, I was right there, center stage of Lifetime Fitness, right? Like, you got to put your mind somewhere else.
I fucking hear you. And I think that mentality translates into life in general. I mean, so there's a scene in the movie where you're playing with a football team, some kids, right? And you could have very easily taken the route of feeling sorry for yourself. And, even today when you came in, you were like, I'm out of prison. It's a great day.
Yeah.
Like your mentality, I think, is the mentality that people need to adopt regardless of your situation. You can either be the victim all your life, and you see that on many, many people, or you can decide to be a fucking winner, and that will translate into endless success. It'll be different. Your success will be different than mine. What you consider success may be different than what I do. But with that mentality of just never tapping out, never dropping to the fucking knee, always keeping going, pivoting, as you said, I think that is a winning mentality. So to me, your history and all the shit you did, I don't give a fuck. I think, to me, you have that winning mentality.
Thank you. Resilience, right?
You have to, bro. Otherwise, you're going to get fucking slaughtered in life.
I think that, you're right. That's life in general.
Sure. I mean, you ended up in prison, but some people end up with bankrupt companies.
Yeah.
Everybody can get fucked in life.
Or dead, right?
Yeah.
I tell people, I'm blessed. I said, prison's the best thing that could have happened.
How so?
I tell people, listen, when you're working for this cartel at this level, there's only two ways you could go. You're either going to get killed by them because you pissed them off, or for me, I was using, which I would have overdosed eventually.
Oh,
because you got to think of fentanyl came in right when I was arrested in 2015, 16. So eventually the fentanyl started becoming very popular, being cut with the cocaine. And I used, so guess what? I would have done a big gagger of fucking cocaine that was laced with fentanyl. I would have died. Or I took the better choice and I ended up, getting arrested. And it was like tell people, it's the best thing that could have happened, because I got arrested. I cleaned up, I came out, and I came out stronger and better. And I started literally, like I said, you're back against the wall. You're in prison, and I started this protein ice cream, right? And
I thought it was fucking brilliant seeing you fucking making, it was a bucket of ice and making it. Again, it just shows your ingenuity. Yeah. You were supposed to do 27 years though, right? 21
years in the feds, and then I was supposed to get up to a life sentence in Australia for distribution of the cocaine, right? So a life sentence in Australia is like 25 years, give or take. So they had my release date at 2078.
Fuck.
Yeah.
How the fuck did you get out in 10?
I won the lottery in life. I remember in 2020, the U.S. Marshals picked me up in California federal prison in Lompoc. And they said, you're getting extradited to Australia. And I was like, what? What the fuck? Because I knew I had this extradition clause, but it was supposed to be I was going to do my U.S. sentence, and then Australia was supposed to pick me up after and take me to Australia.
Oh, it wasn't consecutive.
It wasn't consecutive. And I was like, fuck, man. No, it wasn't concurrent. It was
that's what I meant. Concurrent,
it wasn't concurrent. It was consecutive.
Yes, sorry.
And I was like, I was fearing this the whole time. And when they picked me up in 2020, I was like, man, I've only been down like 5 years. What's going on? And the marshals wouldn't tell me anything. And we get to LAX, the airport, and there's 3 guys in suits. Like, what the fuck? Who are these guys? And they had the Australian accent, and they're the New South Wales Organized Crime Squad there. I'm like, oh, fuck. Like, I'm like, what are you guys here for? And they're like, we can't talk about it, mate. I said, well, I need to call my attorney right now. And they're like, wait, you're not calling your attorney. You have no rights. You're in prison, right? I'm like, fuck, man. I'm looking at the marshals, and they're just passing me off. And all I'm thinking about is this extradition.
Right.
And I get on the plane, and I'm like, fuck, guys, you got to tell me, man. And they're not telling me shit. They're not even talking about this. They're not giving me any hints, clues, anything.
Would you not have the right to call your attorney?
I guess not. It happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, fuck, man. They're like, listen, when you get to prison, I'm like, okay, I'm going to prison. When you get to prison in Australia, we'll let you call your attorney. So I get to the MWRC in Sydney, Australia, and I'm sitting there in prison cell. And they don't call them correctional officers. They call them chiefs. And I say, okay. I say, Chief, I gotta call my fucking attorney. He says, Hanson, you get one call. I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm calling my attorney. I get on the phone, and I have to time it because the time change, it's fucking 24 hours ahead. I'm calling my attorney. He finally answers it. It's like fucking 4:00 in the afternoon. And I get a hold of him. And it's like 7 a.m. in America. And he answers, and he's like, Owen, is that you? I'm like, yeah. I said, Mr. Adams, what the fuck is going on? I said, I'm sitting in an Australian prison right now. He says, Owen, you just won the lottery in life. And I said, what do you mean? And he says, You remember that corrupt attorney you had in Australia?
Yep, I remember.
And people are going to have to watch the documentary to understand this, but there's a corrupt attorney in Australia that was trying to get back the money that we lost, right?
The 700.
700. And the corrupt attorney made me, before I was even arrested, he made me go to the Beverly Hills police station and tell the Beverly Hills police station to call Australian authorities in order to have this conversation about the 700,000. Okay.
Yep.
And what people don't realize in the U.S., we don't speak to police. I wasn't arrested, so why am I going to go talk to the authorities, right? We don't do that. So I go there and I'm telling my lawyer, like my Australian attorney, I'm like, dude, this is the stupidest thing. You're basically having me make up a story. He had me make up the story to get this money back so he could have half. So I'm making up this fake story that he's telling me to tell him. He's like, just tell him it's legitimate money. You invested in this company and this and that. And I'm making it up. I'm fucking shooting it from the hip, telling him the story that the lawyer coached me on. And the whole time they're recording it, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
you knew they were recording.
I knew it was recorded, but I'm just taking his advice. He's saying it's not a U.S. matter, mate. He says it has nothing to do with the U.S. He says you were dealing with Australia and that's it. I'm like starting to believe the guy, right? So I get arrested. You know, we got to go back to the rest. And the first part of my discovery, guess what the first part of my discovery was? That recording of me telling this fake story, right? So now I'm in Australia prison and my lawyer's talking to me. He's like, that corrupt attorney you had, he's taking it to the box. I'm like, what do you mean? He's taking it to trial. He doesn't believe he's corrupt, and you're the only person that knows that he made you tell the story.
Right.
And in gambling, we call what we call a get back. When you get a get back, it's when you lose a bet and then you try to make that money back. It's called a get back. You're trying to win your bet back.
Sure.
In gambling, I call it a get back. And my lawyer says, this is your get back. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, dude, fucking attorney, you're the only one that knows. He says, if you take the stand against your corrupt attorney and you prove that he made you do this, he says, guess what? That's going to look good in the court's eyes. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, dude, the sky's the limit. He says, if this happens, they called you. They brought you there for a reason. He says, I've already negotiated a deal that the extradition's off the table. They're not going to pick you up after this. I'm like, okay, that's good. That just saved me 25 years.
Yeah. He
says, and if you do this, I'm gonna do whatever I can to ask the prosecution, the judge, whoever, to write a letter to our judge in America. And so I go and I tell him, listen, I was just taking the advice of my attorney.
Right.
I was just doing what he said. I was just telling the truth, right? And they're looking at me and I'm telling them the truth. I said, he knew it was illegal money. I told him from the rip.
So that guy was more important to them than you.
He was a corrupt attorney they've been trying to get for 30 years.
Fuck.
30 years. They never got him. They call him dodgy attorneys, right?
Yeah.
And they found him guilty. And I'm like, fuck yeah, okay. Now what? I'm sitting in my cell. 6 months goes by because COVID hits. I'm like, fuck, man, I can't leave the country. Everything's shut down.
Yeah, yeah.
And so the U.S. Marshals actually flew in to Australia because the airports are closed, and they flew into Melbourne in a G6. So now I get picked up by the fucking New South Wales Police Department in Sydney, and they fly me to Melbourne to meet the U.S. Marshals. They put me on this G6. I'm black boxed. Felt like Chapo Guzman. I was like, what the fuck? I'm on my own plane right now and black boxed. I'm looking around. I'm like, fuck, I got 6 U.S. Marshals and I'm black boxed. And I'm like, fuck, I'm going back to America, right? And I was like, okay, fuck, I beat that. I beat that extradition. That's all I could think about. I was like, fuck yeah. I get back to Victorville, where I'm sitting in Victorville prison. And for 1.5 years, the COVID just ruins the prison system. We're locked down for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, no commissary, 3 meals a day are coming through the chute.
You were in your cell
for 24 hours.
Fuck, dude, that would have.
It was a solitary confinement to the max,
sure,
because they would let us out for one time a week for a shower, and that was it. One time a week. We're taking bird baths. Our cellies are fucking shaving our heads with razors. It was awful.
So did you have a cellmate?
Yeah, you have a cellmate. Everyone has a cellmate. So I was literally getting bologna and cheese sandwiches for literally 1.5 years. No commissary. I was down to like 175. I weigh like 205 right now. So imagine 175. I look like I was Ethiopian. I look sick. I look sick, man.
Yeah.
Sick. And you can't, there's no communication. You know, you're writing letters. I'm writing my letters to my lawyer like, hey, what's going on? He says, the courts are closed. We're not doing anything. So fast forward, I finally get transferred out of Victorville. The fucking COVID lockdown's done. And I arrive into a prison in 2021. I arrive in Colorado prison, FCI, Colorado. I get there. I'm calling my attorney. Hey, what's going on with my case? He's like, dude, we can't do anything. He says, the prosecution has to move on anything from here. He says, we have no say. I'm like, so what's going to happen? He says, just sit back and wait. So for fucking 2 years, I'm waiting. And finally, the prosecution and the judge from Australia write a letter to my judge in America. And they say, Mr. Hanson, we feel had ineffective counsel. He took the stand against his lawyer, and his lawyer was corrupt, and we proved it in court, blah, 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 right? And my lawyer says, hey, we just got this in. This is good news. I'm like, okay, well, what's next? Like, I'm still waiting. He's like, we can't rule. Like, it's not, this is the prosecution for the United States government has to make the first movement. We can't do anything else. So literally, Bruce, I'm sitting there in prison, like just fucking jonesing. Right? Like, come on, man.
I can't imagine being in a cell for 20, and they're like a 6.8.
Yeah, 6x8.
Yeah.
And finally, we're starting to get some rec time. I'm starting to work out again. And, you know, this whole time I'm earning my master's degree because I'm just.
Oh, amazing. I didn't know that.
Yeah. I'd earned my master's degree while it was correspondence.
Of course.
Yeah.
Not going to school.
Yeah. So I'm earning my master's degree. And finally, after 4 years, I get my master's. And my lawyer calls me, and he calls me in the counselor's office in prison. He says, hey, we got good news. He says, tomorrow we're going into the chambers with the judge. He says, they're going to rule on your case. I'm like, what? He says, yeah. And the next day he calls me. He says, so this is how it went down. He says, prosecution got the letter. He brought it to the judge and showed him the letter from prosecution in Australia and the Australian attorneys over there, and how you had ineffective counsel. And the judge actually was ruled in your favor, Owen. I'm like, well, what did he do? He says he was going to max out the biggest number he could give you off, but he wanted to know what you did in prison. What have you been doing? And he says, I showed him your master's degree, you graduated in honors, showed him that you were teaching GED and giving students their GEDs because I was a tutor. And he said the judge gave you 8.5 years off your 12 or 21-year sentence. He says it brought you down to 12.5 years.
Right.
At the time, I was down for like 8 years.
Right.
He says with good time and earning your master's degree, you got another year off, and you got 20 months halfway house. So he says your release date's 2024 to the halfway house, and you're going to spend 20 months in federal prison halfway house. You're still in prison, but really you're out, right? You're not behind the fence. So in 2024, I was released, and I got into the halfway house, and I spent 20 months until June 26th of 2025, and then I was released from federal prison. And during that halfway house, they allowed me to go to and from work 5 days a week. I could go to church, and I could go to the gym.
Nice.
And every morning I'd wake up, and I'd go straight to the fucking gym, work out for 2 hours, and then I'd go straight to work. And
what was the job?
The job was, and listen, I forgot to tell you what I did in prison. I created this protein ice cream in prison, right? You know, we were just talking about that. I created this protein ice cream on accident. Like you said, I was ingenuity, right? I would make my protein shakes, and in prison we have no refrigeration, so I would use ice, and I put the ice in a mop bucket. And in order to keep your protein shakes, you just like stuff them in there, and I remember I'd make these protein shakes where I'd put a bag of milk in there that we got from the chow hall, and then I'd pour a protein shake. We got one protein shake per day. And then I'd slice bananas, and I'd put some peanut butter drizzle, and I'd shake it up, and I'd throw it in my ice bucket.
Right.
After my workout, I'd come back and I'd chug it. Like I told you, I was chugging that Earth Bar protein shake. One day my cellie says, hey, we got bad news. I said, what's that? He says, the ice machine's broken. I'm like, fuck, what are we going to do now? He says, don't worry, we got salt. So he started throwing salt on the ice. And then you hear it going, it's crackling, right?
Right.
Okay, that's a good sign. It's keeping cold.
Right.
I go work out. I come back. I grab my protein shake. I go to chug it, Bruce. And it was fucking rock hard. And I complained. The first time I complained, my cellie was like, I said, fuck, man. I was like upset. I was going to have this shake, right? He's like, what are you complaining for, man? Just take the spoon. And I took my spoon, and I was like, and the ding, ding, ding went off in my head. I was like, fucking protein ice cream. And it started like, it was like a chunky monkey. It had like peanut butter swirls, bananas, right? And I was like, this is fucking awesome. And then I was like, maybe it's just awesome because we're in prison. So I started making it, and I started doing it for my workout crew. And they're like, dude, this is awesome. You got to sell this.
That's kind of how I started too, man. No, I wasn't in fucking prison, but I started from scratch too. I went to a dairy farmer. I knew nothing about the industry, man. I had pro shops.
Yeah.
And I was arrogant enough to think that I could do it better than everybody else. And I came up with my own line. I went to a local dairy farmer. I bought raw concentrate, and I didn't know anything about formulations or anything. And I had to educate myself. Like, I started from fucking zero.
Yeah.
And that's how I did it, man.
I love it. And that's what I did. So I'm literally in prison. I'm like, okay, I'm going to throw up a high number because I don't want anyone to buy it because it takes me 4 hours to make.
Yeah.
So I said $15 a jar, right? I didn't think anyone was going to buy it. Through the first day, I sold 7, sold out, pre-sale. Like, okay, that was cool. And now I'm like running out of fucking space to make them because you only have so many mop buckets per unit. So I start using like other people in different units. I'm like, hey, you make me 7 ice creams. I'm going to give you the recipe. I'll give you $1 a jar because I already had them pre-sold. So I'm giving everyone $1 a jar, and they're making 7 jars. That's $7 per sell. And these guys usually make 20 cents an hour. Like the average salary is like $20 a month.
Fuck.
So now I'm giving them a third of their average salary in a day.
Right.
And I'm like,
and you were allowed to do that?
Listen, I'm a hustler. I'm not going to stop, man. You're not allowed to, but at the end of the day, I'm selling fucking.
You weren't
ice
allowed
cream.
to sell cocaine either.
I'm selling protein ice cream.
Yeah.
I'm not selling tickets for gambling. I'm not selling, K2, which is like illegal drugs. I'm not doing anything that. At the end of the day, yes, I had some incidents with the guards. Are like, Hanson, what are you doing with this ice cream? And they dump it out.
Mm.
That's prison.
Mm.
And you know what they say? If you don't like it, don't come. Right. So listen, I was selling protein ice cream. Come Super Bowl Sunday, I remember I had pre-orders for 50 ice cream. And the guards came up to me that day and they said, Hanson, you made more money than both the guards working the unit today. And I did. And I got out of prison, right? And I'm at the halfway house. I'm like, what the fuck am I going to do? I'm a convicted felon. And
your back was against the wall again.
Back against the wall. And my boy called me from Florida. And he's like, dude, what are you going to do? And I said, you know what I'm going to do? I created this protein ice cream, and I'm going to continue to create this brand from this fucking this halfway house, right? It was like a Costco. I had like 30 bunk beds and fucking 60 inmates in one room.
Wow.
And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go to every fucking ice cream manufacturer I can find and see if that they can help me. And that's what I did. I went to literally and told everyone my story. No one wanted to do business with me because I was a felon. And finally, I went to this guy. Never forget it. Nasser and Abraham. And they looked at me. They're like, "You're crazy. You want to make a protein ice cream?" Like, they looked at me like I was like out of my mind. They made a Mexican paleta, which is a very famous bar in California. And I gave them my book, The California Kid, and they're like, "Dude, give us 24 hours." So they read the book. And the next day, they called me in and they said, "Hey, we read your book. You paid the cartel back $4 million." He said, we're going to do you a solid. We're going to do all your R&D for free. They said, once we complete this formula and we get it to like how you like it, we want to be your co-packer.
Do they own the master?
No, I own the master.
Smart, good man.
I'm not giving that up.
No, good man.
So I came up with this formula with probiotics. I used, a Greek yogurt base. I used WPC 80 like you and I were discussing. And I created this fucking magic formula with no added sugar. And I had this proprietary blend made from a dairy farm. Awesome dairy farm that basically use allulose and monk fruit as my sweeteners.
Yep.
So now I can say, hey, it's all natural ingredients, right? Yep. And I got it gluten-free. And I started to use inclusions that are, used with monk fruit. I use natural inclusions like strawberries and gluten-free graham crackers. And I came up with these flavors. And come September was our first sale. And now we, September, just 7 months ago? And we're now in 350 locations, gyms and nutrition stores.
Nice.
And we distribute nationwide. I tell everyone, this new logistics for my new business is a lot harder than the whole business I did. Because remember, frozen food, I send it on dry ice. I have to make it there in 2 days. And if it doesn't make it there in 2 days, it melts. And guess what? I lose the product.
That's right.
So
and you piss off your customer.
Yeah, you piss off your customer.
And you pissed off your customers' customers.
Because they open it up, it's melted. What are you going to do? They want a free. So now you got to send them a free ice cream because they're owed it.
Yep.
And then, it's just, it's a game of logistics in this. It's the frozen space. And I see why people haven't done this so often, right? Like you don't see everyone just starting their own frozen protein ice cream business, right?
Yeah, you did start off with a difficult task.
Yeah.
But it's a great fucking story.
Yeah.
And nowadays, people love a story. But as you and I discussed, there are challenges that you're going to face. But you know, you and I will talk after about this. But dude, I wish you nothing but success on it. And I do have a question. Had you not gotten caught, do you think you would have stopped?
You know, Bruce, I'm not going to lie. I had this set number in my head.
Yeah?
Yeah, I had a set number. And I think if I would hit that number, I'm pretty disciplined. Like I still get up, go to the gym at 4:30 every morning.
Good man.
Yeah, and I still go to bed at 10 p.m. Like I'm pretty, when it comes to discipline, I'm pretty damn good. Like you can ask anybody that knows me.
Yeah, same, brother.
And I think if I got to that $50 million number that I had in my head,
50 million savings?
That was my number.
Yeah.
And I would have turned that into, 5X, 10X. Like I just know my mentality. Like I really enjoyed construction, like building from the ground up. And I was really good in developing homes. Like that was my thing. Like even though we were laundering money through construction, it was fun to me to watch something go from an architect standpoint and in this, beautiful mansion in the Hollywood Hills or the beach. And to me, that was like, I got off on it. And I think that's what I would have done. I would have got to that 50 million and I would have probably turned it into, hopefully $500 million. But that's hearsay, right? Now we're going to do it the legal way.
It's going to be tougher.
Yeah, of course.
But
I didn't make it this far.
The hustle mentality, the never say die mentality will always get you where you want to go. That's the way I believe it.
No doubt.
Brother, man, it was a fucking honor.
Thanks for having me.
Man. We're out.